Well, welcome to another Tech Tips 411 PD series. I'm super excited to have you guys join me today. Today, we're going to be talking about ideas for using Google Drawings. This is my new PD series that I kicked off yesterday. Talked about Google Slides. Today, I'm talking about Google Drawings. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about 10 ways you can use different tools. So super excited for you to be here with me today. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Jennifer Hall, and I'm an educational technology specialist in Atlanta Public Schools. And what that means is I provide technology training for teachers around the district and provide PL and plan with them on effectively integrating technology in the classroom. So if you've stumbled across this video, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are here, let me know live in the chat if you are tuning in live and watching. I'd love to know that you are here. So let's get started. The goal of our session this time, these are kind of a sprint session, so they're not going to be really long and real in depth. It's just going to provide you some ideas, hopefully spark some an idea or two that you might want to use Google Drawings for. So let's take a look. So we have 10 ideas for using Google Drawings to engage your learners. Let's take a look at number one. One of the great things that about Google Drawings is the ability to provide peer feedback and collaborate together. So in a Google Drawing, if you're not familiar with Google Drawings, this is not going to be an exhaustive training on how to use Google Drawings. It's just going to be the ideas. If you'd like to know more about how to use Google Drawings, I have an entire PD that walks you through all of the tools and features. I'll put the link in the description and you can check that out. So the first thing is let's go ahead and see how we get to drawings. So there's two ways that you can get to drawings. So if you're in your Google Drive, and most people are like, I've never heard of Google Drawings. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm going to show you where you find it, and then I'm going to kind of show you a couple of these ideas. So the first is you go to New, and as much as I love Google, they hide the good stuff, okay? We'll let it think here. Let me let my computer, see, I'm getting so excited. I start clicking. I'm going to go to More, and I'm going to say Drawings. So that's how I can get drawings there, okay? In addition to that, inside of your Google Classroom, it's one of the options for an assignment. So students actually can click on create a drawing, or you can prompt create a drawing as one of their options. You can also type in drawings.google.com and it will get you to this blank canvas. So this is Google Drawings. And you might be wondering, well, why would I want to use it? It is a versatile tool because it has this blank canvas that you can work with. And as you can see, it's got a transparent background and I can customize and make this size anything that I want. So if I want this to be the size of a piece of paper, I went down to page setup and I'm going to make this the size of a piece of paper for our activity today, 8.5 by 11 inches. And voila, I've got a piece of paper that I'm working with here. So I'm not going to go through all of the tools and options, but I'm just going to point out one of the things that teachers don't think about is the fact that you can use the commenting feature. And because it's a collaborative document, just like any other Google document, you can allow students to work on it together. So I can insert comments. So I'm actually going to insert some word art text box here real quick. Welcome. And I can't type, guys. I'm terrible at this. Welcome to class. Okay. And I'm going to capitalize that. And that's terrible right there. But notice when you highlight anything, I can make this bold. I can change this. I can make it jazzy. I want to make this larger so we can see it. But maybe I want to provide some feedback on that text. So what works is I can select this as a participant and as a teacher to provide feedback. I can click on Insert and I can choose Comment, which means now it's going to attach a comment to that element in the document. So this allows for students to be able to provide feedback on design choices and whatever they're creating. So I can add a comment here, like the font. And remember, terrible at typing. There we go, like the font, and now a comment has been attached here. So that's how you can use the commenting feature and allow students to collaborate. In addition to that, you can have templates like this one that I referenced here is actually an SOS template that I created in Google Drawings. And what's cool about it is it's a 25 things you didn't know. You can put your students in groups, and we're doing this virtually right now. You could say, hey, I have group 1 is the red group, and group 2 is the orange group, and group 3 is the green group, and so forth. And so they can work collaboratively on it, and they can know that that's their row that they're working in. They're in the red group, and you can do this in a breakout room session as well. So that template is available, and I'll put the link in the description. But if you want to easily grab that template, it's one of a number of templates that I have available for the Spotlight on Strategies. And if you're not familiar with the Spotlight on Strategies, they're quick, easy to use strategies to engage students in digital content. So there is that one right there. So I have a couple of different styles of templates, but that's one. So it allows students to work on it collaboratively because I can push it out into my Google Classroom and say either one, just view it, two, that you can edit it, and that means everybody's in the same document, or three, you can make a copy for each student, and that means they're working in their own document. So that's a great way for you to say edit it, and everybody can work in that space, okay? So that's idea one for collaboration and peer feedback, all right? Idea number two. This is one of the main things that I use Google Drawings for, is to create posters, to do my own graphic design. Now, there's a ton of tools you can use online, like Adobe Spark or Canva, where you start with a template. Here you're starting with a blank canvas. So this is a little bit of a heavier lift, but it's also great to see what kids come up with. So on the left-hand side, this is actually a poster for the Lights, Camera, Action project that I've done over the last 10 years. Excuse me. And so I created that poster to advertise for the films that the students were going to showcase after they created their films. The project on the right is actually a travel poster project, and this is kind of a how-to and using the tools in Google Drawings to create a travel poster. So I worked with a 6th grade class, and they had to create posters about the countries that they had studied. And the 3 requirements from the teacher were it had to have the name of the country, it had to have a slogan on it, and it had to have some sort of indicator of whether it was a physical feature or some sort of graphic image that evoked that place. So my example that I created for students was obviously Big Ben and the buses and the telephone booth, because that's very iconic imagery for England, specifically in London. So using it as a blank canvas and letting kids create posters is awesome. I also did a really cool project where students created NASA-inspired posters, and they did them based on the planets and moons that they had studied. So creating posters, starting with a blank canvas and seeing what kids create. You could also, to scaffold it for your students, if you know there's specific things that you want in there, you can kind of create a template of, I want the following information in it, and then you can share that in Google Classroom, force a copy for each student, and then students can get creating. So posters is number 2 way to use Google Drawings. I also use it for my weekly tech tips. I've created a template in there that's pretty cool. So here's an interesting choice that most people will be like, a hyperdoc? Really, Jen? I don't know about that. So this is actually a hyperdoc that I created on Google Drawings. So this is kind of cool. You have a link to this in the presentation, which will be in the description of the video here at the end. So this is a monster Google Drawing. One of the reasons I like Google Drawings is the fact that you can have the canvas be as small or as large as you need it to be. So this one right here is a jumbo drawing. Right now, it's viewable at, let's see here, I think it's at like 11%. So if I take this up to 100%, because it tells you right here, make it extra large. Notice now I've got this interactive document for my lesson on Google Drawings. So this will be in the description, and you can check this out and try these different tips. This is how you get comfortable with Google Drawings. But notice I've got it by steps. Here's your first activity. There you go. With the hyperlinks, you can embed animated GIFs in video, which is really cool, so that I can go back and I can put this in there for my students to watch this and go, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do for that step. Okay. Notice I've got different sections. So here's at task 2 with that animated GIF, all my steps and instructions. So you can use it as a hyperdoc, as a lesson for students to go through, and it's on one page so they don't get confused on where they need to click and where they need to go. So this is my hyperdoc on Google Drawings. So you guys are definitely welcome to check this out. The link will be in the description, so you can try these different tasks, because it shows you how to make emojis. It shows you how to make graphic organizers. It shows you how to make a meme template. All of that's in here, so definitely check that out. Oh, I love to see one of my friends from across the pond. Good to see you, friend. Thanks for tuning in. Anyone else that's watching, drop your name in the chat. Say hello. Let me know you're here. And if you're one of those awesome folks that's watching this from the future, thanks for your time. All right, so that is idea number 3. How are we feeling so far? Idea number 3, using it for a hyperdoc, because you can make your canvas any size you want. So I'm going to go back to this canvas. Remember, I made it 8.5 like a piece of paper, and I can change this to any size I want. So if I want to go in here under page setup, I can do it by inches. I can do it by pixels. The other magical thing that I like about Google Drawings is if I realize I want my canvas to get bigger, I can actually drag this corner, and I can drag it down a little bit more and a little bit more. So I can incrementally make this as large as I need it to be. So if I still need some space. So that's available right there. Oh, Marina, thank you. You're back. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, I kicked back off PD sessions yesterday, so thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so I can make the canvas size any size that I want, which is really, really good. The other nice thing is that I have all of this workspace to make this more interactive. And let's look at some other examples. So hyperdocs, what do you think? Is this a pretty good idea to make a hyperdoc where you have different sections or things you want your students to do? That's idea number 3. Here's another one, timelines. How many of you guys have your students create timelines for the subject that they're studying? So in social studies, or even like scientific discoveries, a timeline of events. So you can create a timeline, again, because you can make this customized in the size that you want. I could go up here and change this page setup. And instead of, and I could have it go, 5 inches by 20 inches. And it can be long ways, and it could be a linear timeline like this. And I could also change it the other direction. And it's going to be a timeline that goes across. So now I've got this workspace to go across, and I can use those drawing tools to very easily draw a line to show my, let's get that line right there. And draw a straight line. I can also go up here and use these other tools to put those arrows to show events that are happening here. I can do events here on that timeline. I can add in the elements, and I can make a very easy timeline. And because it's super simple, this is something your younger students can do, and you don't have to pay for a timeline creating template. Now, technically, could you do this because you can resize in Google Slides? You could. This is if you just want one workspace and one page. So a lot of the things I might mention, you could go, oh, I could do that in Google Slides. You could if you need to have multiple pages for a task. This is Google Drawings is if you just need one canvas for your students to work on. Okay, so that's us creating a timeline. What do you think? Pretty cool? Pretty easy. I can drop those in. I can insert images. So that means if I want to have images about what I'm talking about. So if I was going to talk like maybe a timeline on the evolution of the car, and I could show like the Model T all the way up to what we have now. And maybe in the future, we're going to have flying cars. So you could add in images, uploading them. I can search the web, so I can bring in appropriate images from Google. I could do that, and I could add them. So I could say, all right, we're going to use that Model T car. All right, let's search for that. Let's see if I can find it. Look, there we got old school Model T. So if I want to say that's where the car started, I don't think that was the very first car, but that's like the one that sticks out of my mind. So I can add that here very easily into my images, and then I can explain the invention, the Model T, right? Then I can add in my next image. So I can easily add in images. The other powerful thing is, because this is also a drawing tool, is I can use this to create my own shapes to add in here. So I can get really creative using word art and shapes to jazz up my timeline. So that was idea number 4. What do we think? Timelines, is that a pretty easy task to use Google Classroom for, or excuse me, Google Drawings for? So I would definitely check that one out. Especially if you're a social studies teacher or any teacher that needs to do a timeline, or I know that my ELA teachers used to do like biography projects. This would be a timeline that a student can create about their life. They could actually be like, and I was born here, and these are the important events that I would like to highlight in my timeline. All right, idea number 5. And again, if I'm going a little fast, the goal is this is kind of like just quick 10 ideas. Think of it like the David Letterman top 10 list. This is in no order of importance. It's just 10 ways you can use this tool. So number 5, storyboards. So I do a lot of video production with students, and so I've created this storyboard template. And what's great about coming up with templates like this is that you have that workspace, and then you have instructions. So this right here is where kids are filling out that storyboard, but you as a teacher can put the instructions on the left-hand side. So you want to make use of all of your canvas. So I can, over here, let's take a look at this one right here. If we resize this, or actually I can put any information up here. I can add in some word art with some just instructions. Read this first. It's word art. I can put it off the canvas and students can still see it. This is the printable format if you exported the image, but I can use this space as well to put instructions. If you wanted to make this a drag and drop activity where you have vocabulary where kids need to bring it down into their timeline, you could do that. So you want to make use of your space. You can also embed GIFs, so you can have that up here as a reference tool as well. So the storyboarding plan is one that I do. You can also use it for mapping out activities, so thinking maps, stuff like that. That's a great way to have that as a tool. But again, using that extra space on the canvas to put instructions, to put draggable content. Okay. All right. Next up, how about annotation activities? Google Drawings is a powerful way for you to bring in an image and have students be able to annotate it. So this is an activity where it is an annotation of a cell. So right here, I want all of these parts to be labeled, but you need to add in the text. So they can use the tools by inserting text and put the labels on here. So you could push this out as an activity with students. So again, you could do that in Google Slides, yes. But if you did it in Google Drawings, you could also use the exterior canvas to put the vocabulary so you could differentiate for your students. Your high-level students aren't going to get the names. They need to be able to put them in there on their own. But for your other students on this blank canvas area right here, I could push this out for my emerging learners, and it would have the terms, and they need to drag and drop and bring it to and match it up. Okay. Again, things you can do in slides, but the power of using Google Drawings is you have a bigger canvas without all those pages over on the side. Okay. So that is idea number 6. How are we feeling, folks? So far, have you gotten a good idea or two? I'm just curious. Let me know in the chat if you're seeing any idea that you're like, yes, I never thought about doing that, and I want to try that with my students this year. All right, idea number 7. I would be remiss if I did not mention that I use Google Drawings to create a lot of my headers and logos for Google Classroom, as well as I use it for headers for Wakelet and for Flipgrid, because you can create a template and then I can easily change out the content. And because you can add in animated GIFs, I can make these cool headers for my Google Classrooms. So it's easy to make those logos. I also used it to create logos for my Tech Tips 411 website, because you can resize it any way you want. And what's great about using Google Drawings is that I can download my creation in a number of formats. If I put anything in there and I want to add in hyperlinks, it can be an active document. I can download it as a PDF. So for example, when I do my Tech Tips 411 each week, I actually create it and export it as a PDF to upload to my website. So all of those links still work. In addition to that, you can download it as a JPEG, which means it's just a picture you can add anywhere you want. So you can upload it as a logo. You can upload what you've created to something else. Also, the PNG allows me to download something without a graphic background, so you can have it be clear. I love this we got here. It says, how to make a timeline is something I'm going to share with my coworkers. Awesome. Definitely share that tip. I think it's a great way to use drawings. All right. So if we're taking a look at, excuse me, I can add any of the, again, I can download that as the last thing is to download it as an SVG, a scale vector graphic. That is a file format that lets me have it be small or large. And no matter how big I stretch it, it's still going to be high quality. So for those of you that are using like is it Cricut Circuit, the vinyl cutting machines, the t-shirt making machines, SVG is usually your format that you need. And the ability to download it as a SVG is great. So you can do some design stuff in there. It works really well. All right, so headers and logos, jazz them up, add in those animations and use those as templates for your Google Classrooms. Another cool idea, and I came up with this when I had a teacher ask me about Padlet, and they were like, I love Padlet, but now Padlet's paid. Is there any way I can have like a free version of Padlet? And so what I did was I created, this is my template of Padlet. I call it my Collab Pad. It's Padlet style in the sense that it's got digital sticky notes. And what's great is you can add everything you can add on a Padlet, you can add onto a Google Drawing. So you can upload images, you can add links, you can add in word art, you can hyperlink to resources. So this is a template and it's on my template page. I'll have the link in the description for you guys. But how about this, being able to have that collaborative pad for students to add all their different resources or responses and use it as a back channel for your students. Excuse me. Sorry, my voice is starting to fail on me because this is session number 4 of 5 today. So I've been talking all day long. This is my first live stream, but I've been talking to teachers all day long, which has been awesome. So that's the back channel. What do you think? That's a great template. You could do your own custom one, use it as a parking lot style thing. And then the advantage of using Google's Drawings is the fact that it's just one canvas, one place, and you can maximize the use of all of that space for your students. And you can resize it to any size that you want. So that's idea number 8. And we've got 2 more ideas to go. Number 9, as I mentioned, templates is a great way to create things for students. So this is a template it's for creating memes. This is the actual product that students create, but notice because it's a template, I've got my instructions on the outside of it. It does not affect students' ability to complete the task. It gives them that extra support. So I've got a template that I'm going to push out to students with instructions. So Google Drawings is great for that because I can have 1 page with all my instructions around the workspace. And this activity was creating a meme. So very easy to do that. And because you can push it out via Google Classroom and say, make a copy for each student, you can have those templates ready to go. And our final one that I want to mention is creating graphic organizers. So I know that we have teachers that use these all the time. And I've created a handful of them inside of Google Drawings because it's just a great space because students can work on them collaboratively. So if they work in groups, I've got compare and contrast. Here's another comparison T-chart. So it's very easy to make very visually interesting graphic organizers and putting them into your Google Classroom via Google Drawings. Again, because you can set that space as big as you want and you can scaffold the learning by having stuff draggable off of the workspace that students can bring in if you're working with your diverse learners and they need to have some vocabulary or some key elements that are going to help them complete the task. So number 10 is creating graphic organizers and having those as templates to push in for your students. So this was like a super quick one today, I know, but the goal was to give you 10 ideas, and that was the goal. Did you get 10 ideas? At least one that you want to try. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat right now or drop them in the chat, attach them to the video later. I'll check those out. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to know. So I'm super excited about this new PD series. This is day 2. I've got another one coming tomorrow. So please tune in. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about Jamboard. So if you are not already subscribed, you can subscribe via YouTube. And hit that notification bell so that you know that I'm going live. You can also subscribe via Facebook, and on the Facebook, you can like that video and it will alert you that I'm going live. And I just started going live via Periscope. So if you're tuning in and watching via Periscope, that's pretty awesome. You'll get notified when I go live tomorrow. So the goal is I'm doing these every day at 2 p.m., at least for the next 2 weeks. So please like and subscribe and join right now. I'm going to say, look at this. Oh, Marina says you're excited to learn about Jamboard. Yes. I'm excited to share about Jamboard. I've been having a lot of fun playing with the jams and creating some templates. So if you show up, you get some access to some Jen created Jamboards. Thanks so much for being here. Shelly says, I love the idea of making a hyperdoc. Yes, definitely is a great way to do that because it's all in one space and you can resize it and you can get really creative with it. All right, guys, I so appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't checked out my resources, please check out techtips411.com. There are a ton of resources there. I appreciate your time and I will see you guys